Happy Friday! Welcome back to Drinking by Myself. My name is Emma and somehow we have found ourselves in the last few months of the year. I'm going to do the end of the year book tag, which was created by Ariel Bissett about 5 years ago, I think, and I haven't done it yet. I'm very blue, and it's because I'm filming this early in the morning before work. Look at me go. So the light is very blue. It's very grey and rainy outside. The questions are all about your goals basically for the last few months of the year. So let's dive in. Question number 1 is, do you have any books that you started this year that you need to finish? And my answer is yes, which is rare because actually I'm not usually a multiple books on the go kind of person. I watch other people's versions of this tag and they always have a stack by their bedside table of books that they're halfway through they want to finish. I don't have the attention span, or rather I don't have the multitasking abilities for that. So usually no, but this time I actually do, because I actually started 2 books which I still have on the go. The reason for that being that they are both short story collections. So I feel like that's the kind of multitasking my brain can handle, because I finish each story before I put the book down. So at least that is like wrapped up and done. The 2 short story collections are the Persephone book of short stories and Love in Colour by Bolu Babalola. So 2 very different books. The Persephone book is full of short stories from 20th century female writers. That's Persephone Books' whole thing. If you don't know them as a publisher, they've got their own gorgeous bookshop. They're really lovely. All of their books have these grey covers and they basically publish undiscovered, rediscovered female writers from the 20th century. And so they've got a short story collection here, and I think I've only read 2 so far. Haven't loved either of them. I'm not usually huge on short stories. There have been some collections that have really captivated me, like Hot Little Hands by Abigail Ullman I loved, Salt Slow by Julia Armfield I loved, but usually I'm they're pretty hit and miss. So the 2 that I have read so far, I can't make a huge judgment about the collection. The 2 I've read so far haven't been my favourites, which I think is why I haven't picked it up again, but I would like to read at least a few more of them before the end of the year. And then the same thing goes for Love in Colour by Bolu Babalola. This time the stories all have a theme. They're all on the theme of love, and Bolu Babalola has basically rewritten or written stories inspired by love stories from mythologies all around the world, and she's put her own twist on them. And so it's a really interesting collection of books that takes you around the world, takes you through time, takes you into different cultures and different legends, and all of them are romantic. So I've enjoyed those. I think I've read maybe 4 or 5 of those, and I have enjoyed some more than others. There are some that I really liked from that. But again, the thing with short story collections is you're not like super compelled to pick the book back up, because once you've finished one story, that's done, that's wrapped up. So it's not like you're raring to dive back into the stories of the characters that you love. It's basically like starting a new book again. So I keep not picking that one up either. But I would like to, ideally I would like to have finished those collections by the end of the year. That might not be likely. So let's just say I'd like to have read at least 1 more story a month for the rest of the year. Question number 2 is, do you have an autumnal book to transition you to the end of the year? I've actually already been doing that. I did a vlog of dark, spooky books to read now that the nights are getting darker, which I will link below. So I've kind of already dived into my autumnal themed reading. But a particular autumnal looking book that I actually bought the other day because of the cover, because I thought it was perfect for this time of year, is The Skeleton Key by Erin Kelly. This is what the cover looks like. I saw this in Waterstones and I was like, yes, I would like you on my autumn shelf. So I will be reading that in the next few weeks. I think it's going to be perfect for this time of year. I don't even know much about what the story is. It's got a book within a book, which is a theme that I love and also feels like a cozy autumnal kind of theme. I've read 1 book from Erin Kelly before, which was called He Said, She Said. It was a thriller. It was one where I was really wary because that title to me sounded like the kind of book I might get very angry about. And actually it wasn't. The book was very good. I really liked that book. This looks totally different genre of book. It looks more like a sort of literary mystery. I may have misinterpreted that. I haven't read any reviews. It was really a cover buy. But yeah, that's going to be my autumnal transition book. Question 3, is there a new release that you're waiting for the end of the year? So the book that I have been waiting for is the 3rd book by Celeste Ng, which is called Our Missing Hearts. I've been very much looking forward to that one. Really tried to get a proof. And I didn't get a proof, but that book is out now, so I can now just go to the shop and buy it. Celeste Ng is the author of Little Fires Everywhere and Everything I Never Told You, both of which I absolutely loved. And with the 3rd book, she's doing something a little bit different. So both of her first 2 were contemporary stories. They were about families. They were kind of just diving into the very complicated dynamics in these relationships. Whereas this 3rd book is something a bit different. It's a dystopian novel. So I'm really excited to see what Celeste Ng does with dystopia. So that's Our Missing Hearts. It's out now, so it doesn't really answer the question, but it's only just out. The next question is possibly the hardest, because it is to name 3 books that you want to read before the end of the year. And I don't know how I'm supposed to pick 3. I have hundreds of books I want to read by the end of the year. So how do I prioritize? I'm going to say that I really would like to read before the end of this year a book that my friend Christy lent me. It's called Love's Executioner. I've had it for about 2 years. I need to read it and I need to give it back to her. So I'm going to make that my priority. I must finish that book before the end of this year. We cannot go into a 3rd lap around the sun with me having this book on my shelf. I would also quite like to prioritize the books that I got in hardback, so that I make sure I read them before they come out in paperback, because that's a little frustrating. So I've got Notes on Execution on my TBR shelf by Danya Kafka. I also recently bought The School for Good Mothers by Jessamine Chen. It's a book a lot of people have been talking about. Both of those it would be good to have read before the year is up. Is there a book you think could still shock you and become your favourite book of the year? I mean, that's an exciting thought. I have already read so many amazing books this year. I'm already really struggling to narrow down what my favourite might be. So like, what else could compete with that? For something a bit different than the favourites I've had so far, I have done a video, by the way, on my favourite books so far that I filmed in the summer, so I'll link to that below. Had all of my favourites from the first half of the year. I've had a couple more since then to add to that list, so it's been a really strong year. But for something that's a bit different from any of those favourites, I'm really interested to read The Woman in the Library by Sunari Gentle. I think that could be a really fun type of favourite. It's a mystery novel, so I think I might find that to be a favourite in like, I had the most fun reading it. Sorry, I said her name wrong. It's Sulari Gentle. I also have a book on my TBR shelf called You Exist Too Much, which is about a Palestinian American girl coming out as queer and then spending time coming to terms with all of her desires and needs that have been hidden for so long under shame, and I think that could be amazing. I'm very open to having a new favourite of the year surprise me in the next few months. That would be amazing. But also, I don't want to be spoiled. I've already had so many amazing books this year. I've already got so many 5-star reads, and I'm already like struggling to narrow down what my actual favourite of the year might be. So maybe I should pace myself. Maybe I should save from favourites for next year. The final question is, have you already started making reading plans for next year? And no, not really. I don't tend to set like reading resolutions every year in the way that I know some people do. So no, I don't have any particular goals. I have recently completely rearranged my TBR shelf. I used to have it organized just chronologically, like every time I got a new book, it went to the end. But I've rearranged it recently based on priorities. So I have a top priority shelf, then I have a middle shelf, which is books that like I can read whenever and I think they'll be fun, and then my bottom shelf is books that like realistically, am I ever going to read them? And that's like re-livened me, if that's a word. That's made my TBR shelf feel less overwhelming and more exciting again. So I think I might come up with some system next year of obviously my priority books, but like saying that every month I'm going to read 3 from the top shelf, 2 from the middle shelf, and try and read 1 from the bottom shelf or something like that. Or maybe just do what it says on the tin and just never read the ones from the bottom shelf, because I was never going to anyway. I have a holiday booked in February of next year going to Mexico for a week with Raf, so I would quite like to start making some reading plans for that week. I think there'll be a lot of reading time, and maybe I should read some themed books, like some books set in Mexico. So yeah, any suggestions for that, let me know and I will start planning that out. But otherwise, no, I'm pretty chilled. Next year is a blank slate for me. And with that, I should probably pack my bag, leave the house into this horrible rain and go to work. But thank you for hanging out with me on this Friday morning, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel for new videos every Friday morning, and I'll see you next time.